Hey, what's up guys? Back with another video, and today I think we're going to be messing with the Speed 6. I did mess with it last week, but I kind of messed up the video, so I couldn't really use it. But today is pretty much a continuation of that video. I didn't really do much. I just tried to start it, and I tried to move it, but I got kind of stuck in mud over here. But this week, it dried out a little bit. I managed to get it right here on my concrete pad. It used to be right here. So yesterday I was able to jack it up, and I found where the hole in the block was. Last week I tried to start it, but it wouldn't crank at all. So I'm not sure why. I'm going to be messing with it today to figure out why it won't crank at all. It has a battery in it that's good, so it's probably not that. The only thing I can see that's pretty obvious right now is if you look down here, my clutch pedal, it just falls to the floor. So I'm not sure if that's causing the sensor to be messed up or what. There's a safety switch. I'm not sure if it's causing that to not work properly, or if I have a bad fuse somewhere. Yeah, so the first thing I'm really gonna do is I'm gonna put the battery on a charger just in case. It is charged, but it's been a while since it has been charged, so I'm just gonna put it on a charger for a while I'm messing with it. And the first thing I'm probably gonna try is I'm gonna try to turn the motor over by hand with a wrench. So we'll just see what happens. All right, I've got it on the charger. It was a little low, about 11.8, but it should still do something at that voltage. But anyway, now I'm going to jack it up and try to spin the motor over. All right, so here under the car, we're gonna try to spin it over with one hand. We'll see how that works out. All right, I'm gonna need an extension. All right, extension acquired. Let's see if it turns over. Oh my God. So far, no. Oh my God. I think it's locked. I'm gonna grab my breaker bar and see. I mean, usually these aren't very hard to turn over, so it must be locked up. All right, I've got the big boy breaker bar out, so let's see if we can turn it over now. Oh, that rod must be stuck. I'll try to turn it backwards, I guess. There, now it's turning. It turns backwards, so it must have a rod. Must have a rod locked up against the block somewhere. Turns over backwards. Let's try forward again, see if that loosened it. Nope, it's stuck right there. Right there, it's stuck. Can't go any farther. So I have a rod smashed against the block somewhere. So here's the hole in the block. It's kind of hard to see because this transfer case is in the way, but there's a chunk of metal just sitting out right there. I don't know if you can see the actual hole. It's really hard to see up in here. You can just see the edge of the hole right there. So that looks to be cylinder number 4. Yeah, because it's right on the edge of the block. So cylinder number 4 must be the one that gave out, which is weird. It's usually cylinder number 3 that gives out. Looks like we're not gonna get this car started today for sure. I knew it had a bad rod, but I was hoping that I could still start it just to see if it'll run. But that's a no. 2 things I want to mention. 1, I got my phone fixed. Nice, crisp, new screen. And two, I've only owned Mazdaspeed3s, and the Mazdaspeed6 has this subframe that goes all the way around the motor, which is really cool, especially because you get a jacking point right at the front of the car. Whereas a Speed 3, you have to go all the way behind the motor to the rear subframe. Well, not the rear subframe, but the subframe is in the rear of the motor, or you have to go to the sides to the pinch welds back there. But on the Speed 6, right here, nice and easy. Since we now know the motor is definitely locked up and our rod is wedged between the block and the crank, I guess this is going to turn into a disassembly video. So the first thing I did last week was I took the bumper off, but I mean, that's pretty easy to do. It's just a few tabs, a few screws. I guess next I'm just gonna drop it back onto the ground, take the battery out, and then I'll just start disassembling things, and I'll just kind of update as I go. Alright, so I'm going to go over some basics of removing the Speed 6 engine. You can do it one of three ways. You can drop it out through the bottom, which requires you to lift the whole car up high enough to get the motor out from under it. So if you have like a lift, that would be ideal for that. But for most people, the easiest way is going to be either lifting it through the top with like a regular hoist or whatever, and then you'll obviously need to remove your hood. Or an even easier way is to remove the whole front clip, and then it basically just slides out the front. I'm probably going to be lifting it out from the top because I don't want to have to disconnect the AC. I'm going to assume that it's charged, and I'm not just going to let it release into the air and recharge it later. I'm going to assume that it's charged, and I'm going to try to leave it that way. That's the best way, in my opinion, to do it. So the first things that I'm really gonna do, remove the battery. That's pretty easy. Everyone knows how to do that, right? Take this whole intake out. A lot of people know how to do this since it's a very common mod. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this belt off, and so that I can remove this power steering pump, since it's disconnected, or since I'm not going to disconnect it rather from these lines. I'm going to leave this system sealed just like the AC system. And then eventually I'm going to take the AC compressor and remove it from the engine. And then the next big important thing before you really get started too far is drain the radiator. So I'm gonna go ahead and time lapse all of this. Hey Austin, you like trains, right? Yeah. Alright, now that that rude heckin' train is gone, I can go over some ways to kind of keep organized when you're taking a whole car apart. So, two ways that I really know of is you can either put everything in bags and label the bags, or another way is you can put things back where they came from. So for example, I took this little shield off from in here in the wheel well, and I just put all these little clips back in and they don't fall out. So now the clips will always be with this that it came with. Same thing with the bumper. Each side has a clip and a screw. Screw and a clip on this side, and just put it back where they came from. That way they'll be there when you come back. Now for things you can't really put back where they came from conveniently, you're going to have to bag them and tag them, or keep them somewhere where you know, but come on, we all know where you're going to forget. So for example, these, I'm probably going to pull them out, remove this shield, and then I'm going to put them right back. Alright, so far, this is what I've gotten out. Intercooler, intake, battery box. Well, I guess it's a battery tray. I drained the coolant. There was oil in there, or there was oil in the bucket that wasn't from the car. So don't worry that it's black. So this is what it looks like so far. All this stuff is out of the way. I'll go ahead and check the turbo. Can you even see it back there? I can barely see it. Seems to have an acceptable amount of play. It'll still work. So I guess I've taken this whole harness out pretty much. Just need to get a pair of needle nose pliers to get this little plastic piece out. It has two more connectors right down here, but the next thing I'm going to do is take this upper rad hose off, and then I'll take a look around and see what I need to do next. All right, so I have this whole wire harness right here kind of out of the way. So the next step is I'm going to pop these shift cables off right here. Now how I'd usually do it is I take two sets of pliers and I'll put one on each side and then gently pry up, and they usually just pop right off without issue. And then after that, time to take the shift cables out of the transmission right here. They look a little different than the Speed 3s. If you guys have ever done brakes on a Speed, it looks like this clip right here just slides out and then they will just fall out by themselves. And then they also have a little rubber grommet right here. That should be it for the shift cables. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done real quick and I'll be back. So it does look like these things do just slide out to let the cables come out, but I'm not having much luck. So I'm going to cheat and just take the bolts out of the brackets. There's one on each side on this cable here, and there's also one on each side right here. So once I unbolt that, the whole thing should just come out as one piece with the bracket with the cables. So that's how I'm gonna do it. All right, I've got the cables all loose. I just unbolted them from the brackets and they're fine. I got this little rubber grommet off. So it looks like I have about 3 things left to disconnect on this side of the engine. One is this purge valve line. It connects that back at the firewall back there, the little red ring right there. So first I'm going to try to disconnect it here since it's easier to reach, but I know on Speed 3s I don't have much luck disconnecting these hoses. They're really stuck. But I'm gonna try here first, and if I can't, I'm gonna go back there and disconnect it back there. So next we have your brake booster line right here. It connects back to the firewall back there behind this reservoir. I'm going to disconnect it right here. There's this little red ring right here. I can't remember if you push down or pull up on it, but once you do that, this thing should just pop right out pretty easily. And the last thing is we have a fuel feed line right here. I'm going to disconnect it right here at the fuel pump. There's probably going to be some fuel pressure behind it. Since the car couldn't run, I couldn't drain the fuel pressure. But if your car runs, I would start it, pull your fuel pump fuse, start it up, and then it should relieve the pressure. And then you can take it off and it won't spray everywhere. So now I've got the power steering pump off. It's just 3 bolts, 1, 2, and 3. And of course I put the bolts back in the holes. I didn't put this one back in because it actually doesn't come out of the pump. Just like on Speed 3s, this one doesn't come out because of this line right here. So that's perfectly fine. So unlike on a Speed 3 though, this thing doesn't get out of the way very well. On the Speed 3 you can like lob it all the way over here, but on the 6 you can't lift it up anymore. So you're just gonna kind of have to hold it out of the way while I get this hose right here off. This is for the thermostat. And for this line, I think it's okay to stay on there. It looks like it goes to the oil cooler, which is attached to the engine, so it won't really matter if it's on or not. So next I'm just gonna grab a pair of pliers and I'm gonna get this hose off, and then I may be done from there for today. I don't know. We'll see if I feel like working much more on this thing. There's honestly not a ton left to take off, but it's more big stuff now, like unhooking the exhaust and taking the transfer case off, stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this off. That's about all I really wanted to do. I don't want to get too far into it because next week I'm gonna be doing a clutch job for a Mazdaspeed3 Gen1. So I need to keep this thing mobile without a bunch of parts hanging off of it, so I can move it out of the way so I can do the clutch in this garage right here. So if you guys want to see a video on that, let me know. I'm not really sure if I'm going to film it or not. I've kind of sort of halfway done a video on a clutch already, but maybe I can go more in depth this time since I'll have someone here to help me. Yeah, just let me know. But that's pretty much it for me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.